Jewish side to the Gentile side. The side where they were at home to the side where they were strangers. The side where life is familiar to the side where it is new. The side where they are accustomed to stuff to a side where they don't have a clue what they're going to do. The side where they are familiar to a side where they don't have a Scooby-Doo. They don't have an understanding of what is going to happen on this side. But when you've got God with you, you can take a risk. I said you can take a risk to God and you can move over on the other side. Life Center, I come to challenge you tonight. Let's move over on the other side.
Yes!
My God.
We may never have crossed the Sea of Galilee, but we've been in that boat where we're not quite sure about where we are going.
Where we going, my God.
This is not just a story about the weather.
Right.
And it's not a story about a boat trip.
Right.
It is a story about life.
Yes.
It is a story about faith.
Yes.
It is a story about fear. And whenever you find one of those, you will find all three. They cannot be separated.
Woo!
Life, faith,
and fear. Wow.
Sometimes the sea
Wow.
of life is rough.
Yeah!
Sometimes the wind is strong. Sometimes the waves are high. Sometimes the boat is taking on water and it is sinking. Each of us could tell a storm story. Some of our stories will begin with a phone call or a doctor's visit or of news that we don't want to hear. Some of them will start with the choices we have made, our mistakes and our hidden sins. Some of our storms, our stories would tell about the difficulty of a relationship, hopes and plans that fell apart, or the struggle to grow up and to find our way. Some storms seem to arise out of nowhere and take us by surprise. Other storms build and brew as we watch. Storms happen. Storms of loss and sorrow. Storms of suffering. Storms of confusion. Storms of failure. Storms of loneliness. Storms of disappointment and regret. Storms of depression and storms of uncertainty and storms of second guessing and storms of thoughts and voices, and regardless of how or when they arise, storms are about changing conditions.
Yes!
Life is overwhelming and out of control. And depression used to be my friend. And depression used to be my constant companion. And after burying and losing 3 children, I know what it is to live in depression, to preach a sermon on a Sunday and to go home and don't want to get out of bed. Storms will come. You didn't plan it, but storms will come because of where you are situated.
My God. My God.
Oh, you're so anointed that you
Oh,
don't
my
know
God.
you can have fear. Okay. You're just not real enough for me. Because 2 years ago, after having my examination, my regular examination on my breast, they called me back in. I just knew when they tested me, I felt that they were going to call me back in. They called me back in, and I was paralyzed with fear.
My Lord.
You may believe that when the enemy speaks to you, you just do your shantala, shantala. No. I was paralyzed with fear.
Thank you for your honesty.
That's Chantella. I love
I
that.
need someone to tell me the truth and stop making out that you're all that spiritual. When you think that death is on the way, I was paralyzed with fear. Called a few people who I trusted and we prayed about it. When I went for the test, The lady said to me, there's nothing there.
Wow. My God.
Now that is the second time that God has proven himself to me. Years ago, I had all kinds of cysts growing over my on my ovaries. All kinds of cysts, just excruciating pain. And a young woman ran from the back of the church and she laid hands on me. She didn't know anything about it. She laid hands. He didn't use the pastor. The Lord didn't use anyone who knew. Just someone unknown ran up to the back, laid hands on me. I went back to the doctors for my x-ray and nothing was on my...
Yeah!
Storms just come.
Yeah.
Can you just give me a few minutes just to finish this word right now?
Go ahead.
Life is overwhelming and sometimes it's out of control, Bishop. Things don't go the way we planned it. Circumstances seem too much for us to handle. Order gives way to chaos. We're sinking. The water is deep and the shore is far away. The disciples are quick to make the storm about Jesus. And do you not care that we are perishing? Do you know how many times I praise you, God?
Right.
Woo!
Do you know how regular I fast? Do you know how much tithes and giving I give to you, God? Do you know how many times I've said no to the men, God? Do you know how many times I've kept myself holy, God? And you allow this thing to come upon me? You feel like you're worthy. You feel like you're better than everyone else. You feel like you deserve a special blight from God.
You're right. That's what we say.
Don't you care that we are perishing? Jesus, don't you care that I'm in the middle of this situation? Don't you care that I feel lonely? Don't you care that I want to get married and nobody is asking me? Don't you care that I'm perishing? Do something, Jesus. Fix it, God. Make it better, God. In the midst of the storm, sometimes it looks like Jesus is absent. In the midst of the storm, it looks like Jesus is passive. How can you sleep when I'm in trouble, Jesus? How can you lie there asleep when my storm is raging, Jesus? How many fastings must I do to get your attention, Jesus? Sleeping Jesus, however, is in the same boat.
Sleeping Jesus.
And the same storm.
Oh my
The
God.
disciples. Sleeping Jesus is surrounded by the same water. Oh, and the same disciples.
Preach
and
it!
blown by the
Preach
same
it!
wind. Sleeping Jesus is beaten by the same waves, but his response is different. While the disciples fret and worry, Jesus is asleep. The disciples want busyness and activity, but Jesus sleeps in peace and stillness. We want the drama.
We want activity.
We
Wow.
want everybody to know that we're in a storm.
Whoa.
My God.
But Pastor, do you mind if I don't do praise and worship for a few weeks? Pastor, do you mind if I just sit down for a while? I'm just going through some things. And
In a storm.
I just don't feel. See, everybody's got to know that you're in a drama. But it's while you're in the midst of that storm that you better open your mouth and give God some praises. It's while you're in the midst of that worry that you've got to open your mouth. I will bless the Lord at all times, and his praise shall continually be in my mouth. The pastor has drama too.
Right. Say that. Right. We still got to show up.
Ooh, he sleeps. Reveals that the greater storm and the real threat is not the wind, not the wave, or the water that around us, the circumstance in which we find ourselves, but the storm is within us.
Woo!
The real storm, the most threatening storm, is always the one that rages within us.
Yeah.
Oh my. So I not to let the water get inside of your ship. Because it's when you let the water get inside of your ship that your ship is going to sink. You've got to take the time to bail out the water. Keep the water from getting inside of your